Will the Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee come to order? The time is now 1:33. If everyone can please silence their phones or other noise-making devices, that'll help our cause. Members, in accordance with the Sunshine Law, if you are not in the council chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. Also, please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. My name is Tamara Paulton, and I'll be your chair for today's DRIP committee meeting. With us, we have Committee Vice Chair Nohelani Hodgins. Aloha Winala.
Aloha, Chair, and aloha, everyone.
We also have Committee Member Kawanoi Batanga, and Aloha Winala.
Aloha Winala Kako.
And Member Tom Cook, Aloha Winala.
Aloha.
Member Gabe Johnson, Aloha Winala.
Aloha, Chair, council members, community members. There are no testifiers at the Lanai District Office, and I'm here and ready to work. Thank you.
Thank you. And Council Chair Alex Lee, Aloha Winala.
Aloha Winala.
Did you want...
Wait, 1 second. No one's here in my workspace. I'm home alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Keani Rollins Fernandez, we received word she'll be excused for today. Committee Member Shane Sinensi, Aloha Winala.
Aloha Winala, Chair.
And we also received word that Councilmember Yukile Sugimura will be excused for today. This meeting of the Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee of the Maui County Council is located on the traditional Aina of Kanaka Maoiwi, who never ceded their sovereignty to the United States. We recognize that Her Majesty Queen Liliuokalani yielded the Hawaiian Kingdom to the U.S. in duress under threat of violence to avoid the bloodshed of her people. We further recognize that Hawaii remains an illegally occupied nation state by the U.S. as documented in a 2021 scholarly article for the National Lawyers Guild Review by Andrew Reed, adjunct professor of law at the University of Denver Stern College of Law. Generations of Kanaka Maoli and their knowledge systems have sustainably cared for Hawaii and continue to do so. We are grateful to occupy this space and learn the ways in which we can contribute. As a committee, we seek to support the varied strategies that the indigenous peoples of Hawaii are using to protect their land and their communities and commit to dedicating time and resources to working in solidarity. From the Department of Planning, we have Planning Director Takakura, Administrative Planning Officer Greg Post, and Mr. Danny Diaz in the gallery. From the Department of Housing, we have Director Mitchell. From the Department of Environmental Management, we have Deputy Director of Environmental Management Peterson. From the Department of Water Supply, we have Director Stufflebean as well as an Engineering Program Manager. From Corp Counsel, we have Deputy Corp Counsel Hopper. And other resources, we have Jeff Uyoka of Welsh Street Law LLC, should he be needed. Members, without objection, I will designate Mr. Uyoka as a resource person under Rule 18A of the Rules of the Council due to his knowledge and expertise as the project representative. Thank you. We also have DRIP committee staff with us this afternoon. We have Senior Legislative Analyst James Kruger. We have Jarrett Pasquale, Senior Committee Secretary Yvette Boutillier, and Legislative Legislative Attorney Carla Nakata. And we have a new analyst in training with us as well. Today we have one item on the agenda, DRIP 19, Bill 163 per N 2025, Bill 164 per N 2025, and Bill 165 2025 to amend the Maui Island Plan's Directed Growth Map C5 Pulehu Road, amend the Wailuku Kahului Community Plan designation, and change the zoning for 166.511 acres situated at Kahului, Hawaii, Ho'onani Village. And just to set the stage, We have a hard out at 4:30 today with Member Batanga and having to leave 1 hour in advance of that. The plan is to vote on Bill 163 and 164 out of committee and hold Bill 165 until we hear back from the Land Use Commission on the DBA, District Boundary Amendment. We will take testimony after opening remarks or presentations. The committee is in receipt of the following: Bill 163, a bill for an ordinance to amend the Maui Island Plan's Directed Growth Map C5 Pulehu Road by including within the urban growth boundary a 166.511 acre portion of a parcel identified for real property tax purposes as tax map key, paren 2 3-8-006:004-0005, Kaului, Hawaii. Bill 163's purpose is to amend the Maui Island Plan's Directed Growth Map C5 Pulehu Road to include that acreage in Kahului, Hawaii, identified by the previous tax map key within the urban growth boundary for Ho'onani Village Mixed-Use Development Project. The proposed project site plan includes multifamily, residential, retail, commercial, office, light industrial, hospitality, and recreational and open space uses. Bill 164 purpose is to amend Wailuku Kahului Community Plan designation from agriculture to business multifamily for 166.511 acres previously identified for the Ho'onani Village Mixed-Use Development Project. And then Bill 165 we won't be voting on today, so I won't read that part. With correspondence dated May 8th, 2026 from the committee chair transmitting County Communication 86-26 from the Planning Director containing the Maui Planning Commission's recommendations and related documents. There's also an amendment summary form dated May 13th, 2026 from myself with a proposed CD1 version of Bill 163. It amends the bill's title and text to correct the property size from 166.511 acres to 163.443 acres because that other portion is already correct. And it also amends the bill's preamble to update the bill's procedural history. There's also an amendment summary form dated May 13th from myself, proposed CD1 version of Bill 164. This amends the bill's title and text to correct property size as previously stated, and it also amends the bill's preamble as previously stated. The committee may consider whether to recommend passage of Bill 163 and 164 on first reading with or without revisions. The committee may also consider the filing of Bill 163 and Bill 164 and other related action. No legislative action will be taken on Bill 165. So, on June 6, 2025, Resolution 25-132, FD1, was adopted by this council to refer the bills to the Maui Planning Commission for review and recommendations. By County Communication 192-25, the Planning Director noted that the Maui Planning Commission would not be able to make a recommendation within the time frame required by Section 8-8.6 parent 2 of the county charter. Because these bills were never reviewed by the Planning Commission, the committee solicited comments on the proposed project from the relevant departments, which can be found on Granicus. The committee reached out to the departments of environmental management, housing, planning, transportation, public works, water supply, fire and public safety, and parks and recreation and OEV resources. The committee heard these items last on November 5th and 6th, 2025, where we received a presentation from the project representative, which included a proposed site plan for the project. The committee recommended passage of Bills 163 and 164 on first reading while deferring Bill 165. However, Bills 163 and 164 and the committee report were held in abeyance until after the Maui Planning Commission had made a recommendation on the bills as recommended by the Department of Corporation Counsel. Towards the end of December, the committee received revised maps for the Maui Island Plan and Community Plan amendments provided by the project representative, which indicated that a 3.068 acre portion of the property is already within the urban growth boundary and bears a heavy industrial community plan designation. The project representative confirmed that the landowner is now seeking a Maui Island Plan amendment and Community Plan amendment for 163.443 acres rather than 166.511 acres. On January 13th, 2026, the Maui Planning Commission held a public hearing on the proposed Ho'onani Village project. The Maui Planning Commission recommended the following. For Bill 163, the Maui Island Plan Amendment, their recommendation was deferral of the Maui Island Plan until the draft EIS is submitted to the state LUC and the island-wide inventory of existing vacant land is updated and indicates additional urban density is necessary to provide for the needs of the projected population growth. To my understanding, the state LUC did receive the draft EIS and the inventory has been updated. So that's part of the reason why this is scheduled today, because those are satisfied. The portion that indicates additional urban density is necessary. We can check in on Corp Council later on that part. But the other portions have been met. For Bill 164, the Community Plan Amendment, the recommendation was deferral of the Wailuku Kahului Community Plan designation until the draft EIS is submitted to the state LUC and the urban growth boundary is expanded. So it has been submitted. We could try to expand the urban growth boundary today. And for Bill 165, the change in zoning amendment, deferral was recommended until the state LUC approves the district boundary amendment and the requirements under County Code subsection 19.510.040 paren A, paren 4 are met. Several conditions of zoning were also proposed, which planning may note in their presentation. You may find the department's report via County Communication 86-26 under Granicus number 45. However, please consider downloading a personal copy of the report directly from the County Communication log due to the large file size. Committee staff had to compress the file to upload it to Granicus, which affected the quality. The draft EIS was published in March 23, 2026 edition of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development's environmental notice publication, and the public comment period has ended on May 7th, 2026. You can see that on Granicus item number 48. Final approval is still pending. To view the draft EIS and the public comments on this item, please visit the State Land Use Commission's website under its pending dockets tab for boundary amendments A25-811 Ho'onani Development LLC. This meeting is to kind of get a temperature check from the committee members on how they would like to move forward with this item based on all the updates to this project since we last discussed it. For the members' reference, proposed unsigned CD1 versions of Bill 163 and 164 were posted via amendment summary form on the agenda. On May 18th, we did receive signed versions of the bill from Corp Council. It is a little bit wonky because the RFLS is signed, but they attached the unsigned versions first. So if you scroll down to page 14 on the RFLS, that's where the signed copies begin. So you might be like, hey, this isn't signed, but that's the old version. Wonky, I know. Please note that full council requires 6 votes for bills to pass, while a simple majority vote is needed for a committee recommendation. Under County Code subsection 2.80B.060C, a public hearing would also have to be scheduled for Bill 163, 2025 for the Maui Island Plan Amendment. And I think that's supposed to be in this district, but this community plan district, but this is this community plan district, so it could be held here. So at this time, sorry, that was a super long intro, but this bills have history. So at this time, I'd like to receive the presentation from planning, which can be found on Granicus number 52. If members could write down their questions, because we're not gonna flirt with clarifying or not clarifying questions before testimony. So if you have questions, if you can write them down, then we'll hear from environmental management, housing, water supply, Corp Council, and Mr. Uyoka if he has anything to say. So if you have any questions for any of those, please write them down and we can take it up afterwards. Okay, planning, take it away.
Thank you, Chair Paulton. You did such an excellent job. I'm going to just fly through this. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation that the staff are going to help me with. And it's a little bit of a review. So as a reminder, it's about 166 acres in the vicinity of Pulehu Road, Hanson Road, and Veterans Highway. And it was former sugarcane fields. So, and next slide, please. The project proposal, as Chair Paulton mentioned, is to expand the MIP urban growth boundary, change the community plan designation, and change the zoning. And I know we're not going to take any action on the zoning, but these land use designations are all related, so I'm still going to discuss them anyway, just kind of to give you the big picture. And I want to cover what do these designations mean. First of all, the MIP urban designation. Those are urban areas that contain a greater variety of land use types, including various housing types and densities, commercial, retail, industrial uses, and resort destination areas. Infrastructure is more complete and reflects the need to serve higher density land uses. The proposal for the community plan designation is business multifamily, and this includes a mixture of retail, office, and commercial services which are oriented to neighborhood service and single-family and multifamily residential uses. The proposed zoning is M1 light industrial, and that's designed to contain mostly warehousing and distribution types of activity, and permits most compounding, assembly, or treatment of articles or materials with the exception of heavy manufacturing and processing of raw materials. Residential uses are excluded except for dwelling units located in the same building as any non-dwelling permitted use. And then also, as we know, we need the state designation to change, but that's a separate application. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. So Chair Paulton went through this already. We received the reso last summer. In October, we let the council know that we had not received any information. In November, DRIP had 2 meetings on the project, and that's when we learned more about the project and had enough information to prepare the public hearing and agency comment. Also at this time, the State Land Use Commission approved being the accepting authority for the environmental impact statement. The Maui Planning Commission public hearing was in January, and as Chair Paulton mentioned, they recommended deferral, which I'll go over later in the presentation. And then in March, the draft EIS was published, and the deadline for comments was a couple weeks ago. Okay, next slide, please. Now I'd like to share some of the department's concerns about the process first, and then about the project. You heard this a little bit this morning. It's the department's position, that by bypassing the normal application and environmental review procedures and analysis expected of a private development project of significant magnitude, that can result in a significant reduction in the level of impact analysis normally performed by the department, the Planning Commission, and by you, the County Council. And it can result in relatively little community input, and it may result in potential impacts to the community. And for these reasons, the department recommends that projects of significant size, like 160-something acres, require that the private property owner initiate such amendments and be required to submit the necessary application materials and environmental analysis as required by the code and by Hawaii revised statutes. Next slide, please. A little bit of about our concerns about the project. As you may know, the Maui County Code, Chapter 280B, says that all community plans, zoning ordinances, and subdivision ordinances have to conform to the general plan. Also, Maui County Code, Chapter 19.510, has certain requirements for meeting the intent of the general plan and the objectives and policies of the community plans of the county. And some of these things that are listed in these general plan documents are about the loss of agricultural lands, and that should be carefully considered. Public engagement, MIP Policy 8.1.A requires public input for designating new growth areas. And also in the MIP Policy 8.1.B refers to the inventory of existing available land. And we've been working on that. But this policy says that the amendments to the urban growth boundary should only be expanded if the inventory indicates that additional urban density land is necessary to provide for the needs of the population growth. And so we have a little bit of that information, which I'll present later on in the presentation. But keep in mind, there's also projects that are entitled but waiting for infrastructure. So one of the things that's important is to look at what we have and look at what's pending. And then also a reminder to council members that we've seen a lot of Title 19 changes lately, or that you will see, like kitchenettes for the multi-generational housing, duplexes and multifamily and residential, accessory dwelling unit reform in size and number, and then allowing multifamily residential in commercial areas. Also, infrastructure is a huge issue. Water, wastewater, roads, transit, bicycle and pedestrian paths, stormwater and drainage. For water, I'm sure you can get more information from the engineering program manager, but one of the comments we mentioned to the Planning Commission is redundancy plans and ensuring the water meets all drinking water quality standards. And for traffic, I think we probably all drive around this area frequently. It's a big project in an area that already sees a lot of traffic, which means it has great potential, but it also means that the roads, the transit, and pathways need to be carefully considered to minimize impacts. And then the consistency of the designations, which I described to you. You know, industrial and business and multifamily are different. Hotel is also different, and these need to be resolved. Note that the community plan designation and the Maui Island Plan growth boundary go hand in hand. You know, land is added to a growth boundary, and then it is assigned a community plan designation. According to the community plan, the Wailuku Kahului Community Plan, non-residential use is more appropriate for this area. The plan specifically states total enclosure of structures as well as air conditioning are generally required for this purpose. Residential uses should be discouraged within the 60 LDN ISO line. This is due to the proximity to the airport. And then also hotel use must go through the public process. And then also another concern is the timing of delivery. The amenities should be developed with the project, not after. Next slide, please. So when we took the project to the Planning Commission, these are our recommendations. Deferral for all three. For the MIP amendment, until we recommend a deferral until the final EIS is accepted by the Land Use Commission, and then that inventory of existing land indicates that density is necessary. Also, deferral of the community plan amendment until the final EIS is accepted, and MIP urban growth boundary expanded. And then also with the change of zoning, deferral until the Land Use Commission approves the district boundary amendment and that the project meets the criteria in Maui County Code 19.510. Next slide, please. So the Planning Commission basically adopted the department's recommendation, except that they said the draft EIS is okay instead of the final. So that's the main difference of the commission recommendations, which you would see in your report. They also, next slide, please. had some conditions for the change of zoning, which I think you folks can consider when you get to it later. But it's mainly about the residential units, that they all be rented at or below 140% of the AMI, and that would be for a period of 30 years minimum. Compliance reports, and that a minimum of 100 residential uses be built according to the phasing plan, and that the,
1,000, right?
I'm sorry?
1,000 residential units.
Yes, sorry, residential units, yes. And that the infrastructure and the civic and the other amenities be built concurrently, not afterwards. These conditions, they're important because M1 zoning allows for a wide variety of uses, and if approved without conditions, the property owner wouldn't have to build housing. And if you can go to the next slide. I'm not going to read this to you, and I know it's in small font, but this is the wide variety of uses that are permitted in M1 light industrial. And if you have time, you can go to Maui County Code, Chapter 19.24. But any of these uses, including antennas and wind turbines 75 feet tall, would be outright allowed. So just to make you aware of M1, that provides great flexibility in the zoning and the uses that would be allowed. Next slide, please. So here we are today. So far, the draft EIS was published, and that's the link to the draft EIS on the state website. Long Range Division has been working on the land use inventory. The last time that was done was 2014, and we haven't had any MIP amendments before, so this is the first time. And because that inventory is over 10 years old, we're looking at it again. And I'll go over some of the information I have based on the GIS data and the boundaries that we have. We are showing that within Maui Island, in these two MIP designations, small town and urban, there's 9,352 acres. Within the Wailuku Kahului Community Plan area, it's 3,042 acres in central. We still are working on more details about that because we do need to do a breakdown of residential and commercial and industrial use. If you can go to the next slide, please. This next slide has the map of the island, it's central, sorry, just central. And the green are the vacant lands that are within the small town and urban. So those are the yellow and the red. You can see some light blue lines on there, but that's rural, and that's not part of this policy. So we didn't look at any community plan designation rural because this MIP policy only refers to urban and small town. And this is just a breakdown. And they looked at parcels that are greater than an acre that are vacant. So that's just the detail from our GIS team. Next slide, please. This one is just a map of the entire island. And you can see the different green. There's some in south, in central, a little bit in West Maui, and then a little bit up country. So, okay. This policy is actually two parts, the land use inventory and then the population. And if we can go to the next slide, please. We have some data that we have from UHERO, and this covers this part about providing for the needs of the projected population growth within 10 years of that inventory or during the decennial update of the MIP. So I know this is a lot of information, but this is from UHERO, and if you look on the left side, that's a list of years from 2025 at the top to 2000 at the bottom, and then the population in the middle in thousands, and then the last column on the right of that table is the percent change. And you can see, well, if you can see, in the early 2000s, population grew around 1% to 2% per year. And in the 2010s or so, then it slowed down to about 1% a year, a little less. And then from COVID, which is like 2020 and up, it's been about 0, or even some of the more recent years are negative, unfortunately. And in the upper right corner, that's just a line graph to show the population change in Maui County over that time period from 2020 to 2025. So looking at this chart and graph, along with the projected population growth, which I'll show you on the next slide, it shows that this trend will generally continue over the next 20 years. And so you can see that the low numbers may not warrant an expansion of the MIP growth boundary when considering the potential of existing entitled projects in the urban district. Maui County might be able to accommodate population changes within the existing growth boundary already established in the MIP. Hence, the MIP growth boundary change may not be necessary. Of course, the council could disagree with that assumption, but I just want to provide that information that we have for you. And also note that growth boundaries consider more than just housing. Like I mentioned, Long Range Division is still looking at the available acreage for the different uses, and that's commercial, manufacturing, et cetera, to support growth, to see if our existing boundaries have enough space. And that's important when considering rezoning over 160 acres to M1 light industrial. Next slide, please. So this is also from University of Hawaii, UHERO. Oh, previous slide, sorry. The yellow boxes show the projected changes for each year to 2043. So it starts at 2020 on the top row, and then 2028 to 2035, the middle row, and then 2036 to 2043. And just some quotes from the report. Over the longer term, Maui will follow a slower growth path than we experienced before the COVID-19 downturn or during the post-pandemic recovery. For the broader local economy, trend economic growth is ultimately driven by expansion of employment and improvements in productivity. The county will see slower population and labor force growth than in the past because of a continuing downward trend in birth rates, aging, and the incomplete reversal of recent outmigration. Average population growth over the 2024 to 2043 forecast period will be 0.1%. This is higher than during the past 5 years, but much slower than that experienced in recent decades. The average pace of job growth will be 0.5%. Okay, next slide, please. So that was a lot of information about the 160 plus acres, about the project, about the department's concerns and recommendations, the land inventory and population. Regardless of the department's position on processing of large development projects, the council does have the legal authority to initiate such amendments and act on them without the relevant application materials and Section 343 analyses that would be required of a private property owner submitting the same request. That said, I still want to remind the council of the department's concerns and respectfully request that you have a robust discussion on these matters. As I mentioned, Long Range Division is still working on updating the land use inventory to provide for a level of analysis that is expected in MIP policy 8.1.b and ensure that the project is needed. Until that detail of analysis is completed, you could consider deferral until you have that information and that the public has had a chance to participate as per MIP policy 8.1.a. Outstanding issues besides the public participation include infrastructure and dealing with airplane noise. Public water and wastewater mean the cost of service is borne by the residents and not spread out among everybody like county water and wastewater. Also, the community plan designation that's proposed is more consistent with business type zoning districts like B2, Community Business District. And community plan designations such as business industrial or light industrial are more consistent with M1 light industrial zoning. And just keep in mind, M1 allows for all sorts of development, even freestanding antenna or wind turbine structures up to 75 feet tall. I know that's an extreme example, but it is outright allowed in M1. And then some of you may recall that back in 2022, hotel use was prohibited in almost all zoning districts. So that's still an issue, it is prohibited. With the final EIS that will come out at some point, the potential impacts associated with the project can be evaluated, and therefore associated conditions of approval that would mitigate or reduce those potential impacts can be clearly identified. Until then, we simply don't have enough information to make good land use decisions. But I do hope you take these into consideration and you make your decision. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Director Takakura. Mr. Post, did you want to add anything? Okay. Is Deputy Director Peterson on? Oh, okay. Deputy Director, did you have any opening comments?
Yes, I'll start with thank you, Chair. Thank you, council members. Starting with a couple of points about the proposed project. It is outside of our current sewer service area. Our wastewater reclamation division does recommend be constructed.
Oh, Deputy Peterson, you kind of broke up after outside of our service area. do you mind repeating what you said after that?
Okay. Yes, so are we a wastewater treatment plant be constructed to service the project? If the development intends to connect to our system, right now there's currently not enough capacity. And
I don't know
because of that,
what you said after outside of the service area, but because just during that portion it cut out. Did you say that your recommendation is that they construct a private wastewater sewage treatment plant?
yes, that's correct.
Okay, go on. Sorry, I don't know why it cut out just during that one portion, but continue.
Okay. If they do intend to connect to our system, the two options would be either to wait to approximately 2030 to Central Maui wastewater reclamation facility is completed, or to wait till Kahului has increased capacity, which is, there's no date for that at this moment. That is the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director Peterson. Next up, Director Mitchell, do you have any opening comments for us?
Thank you, Chair. The Department of Housing has one comment, but generally we agree with the Department of Planning's comments, and that is this project is very early in its stages, and once the project, if the project gets to its final subdivision, that's when it would trigger review by the Department of Housing under the Residential Workforce Housing section of the code, 2.96. So we're in the very early stages, largely Title 19 work that would be in the purview of the Department of Planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Stufflebean, or I do see Mr. Jensen in the gallery. Are you speaking on behalf of the Water Department? Okay, cool. So we'll have Mr. Jensen give any opening comments from the Department of Water Supply.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I had to come down here. I had a bad connection up in the office, so I had to come down here on short notice.
You guys coming down.
Yeah, department doesn't really have any remarks other than in information that we provided to the applicant in reviewing the draft EIS. That just reminders that this project is seeking private water, so they're not seeking water from the department. And then just to remind everyone, our most recent max reliable capacity analysis published last year indicated that we are between 98 and 100% of reliable capacity. Therefore, the department cannot issue new or additional service to market rate development in excess of 1,200 gallons per day. Should this project have been asking for municipal water and for affordable components, then it would be a comparison of whether or not that exemption beyond the 1,200 could be fulfilled with the remaining supply. But the system is within between 98 and 100% of reliable supply. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Mr. Hopper, did you have any opening comments?
Nothing right now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Uyoka, did you want to make any opening comments? You can come down and speak from the desk or the podium, whichever you prefer.
I'll start here. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you. So Ho'olani Development, or the Village, we're just trying to provide housing as quickly as possible. These council-initiated process were intended to help us move a little faster. That was our hope. The light industrial, commercial, office building components, they're ancillary to the housing. I understand the zoning would allow a very broad array, a lot of things, but again, our intent is to have those things housing primary and those other things are ancillary. If you look at the schedule we provided in our earlier presentation, most of the light industrial is proposed in phase 8. So that'll be 10 plus years from now. We'll see what the community needs, how everything's going. We just want the flexibility to move forward without being locked into little boxes, because Maui will change as we move forward in time. Just to be clear, we are not asking for the hospitality component at this time. We completely understand that there's a lot of other discretionary approvals that will be needed. We will have to come back. We just wanted to be upfront with everyone that the request may come one day. We didn't want anyone to say, oh, look at the map, they didn't show any hospitality, 15, 20 years from now. It shows it, it might be there, but we'll need to come back for approvals. We 100% realize that. So our goal here too is to seek the entitlements while we're working on the infrastructure. We won't be able to build anything. We won't get a building permit if we don't have wastewater and water. We're just trying to get everything lined up, so we're not doing things in phases like, okay, let's get this done, then let's wait and do this, then let's wait and do that. We're trying to do as many things as we can all at once, simultaneously. And currently, generally speaking, you can't secure wastewater or water until you're like at subdivision or building permit anyway. So entitlements usually come first, and then you secure those things via application to the departments. We have discussed this with DWS before. Our goal, as we discussed in the FY27 budget, is to develop the system in partnership with the county and dedicate the water system to the county. Our ultimate goal is to work with DEM for phase 1, 100% realizing that pretty much phase 2 and everything else will need to be in a private wastewater treatment facility on site, which we are planning for. DEM's 11-6-25 letter, and I believe the deputy director kind of confirmed it. It wasn't a no. It was, there's capacity issues. They're working on it, and we'll talk with them. We're hoping to get building permits in January of 2028. So we have some time, but again, entitlements are the first step. And we're confident that we'll be able to show that the existing well we're planning on converting will have enough water for the project, and there will be excess capacity for that partnership we're talking about with the county for its central water system. I know it came up whether or not we'll actually build the project. We have every intention of building the project, and if we get our building permits by January 2028, building should be online by about middle of 2029 for that first phase of around 270 units. And that also aligns with that projected population growth. I believe we're at 160,000 right now. They're looking around 163,000. And House Maui, part of Hawaii Community Foundation, they did perform an affordable and workforce housing plan in September of 2025. They did a study, and it showed that at a minimum, 3,800 new units will be needed in Central, and at a max, 6,700 units will be needed in Central between 2020 and 2030. And, we're at 2026, so who knows what it'll be in a couple years. And the studies, they had a bunch of the projects listed in the area, and a couple of them were DHHL, but the rest, they don't get near 3,800, and the build out for some of them will be probably a little slower. They're not all gonna come online in 2030 or something. We have done market studies for this project. They're in our DEIS. They do show that there's a demand and need for housing and people like this area. Just for confirmation too, the state district boundary amendment, it will not be heard by the state LUC until the environmental impact statement is accepted by the state LUC. So there's that stopgap. Excuse me. And on that note, the FEIS will need to be accepted also, again, and our change in zoning would not happen until after the DBA, which is after the FEIS, and you guys will have another opportunity at that point to condition it. Public participation, so far, we had an EIS scoping meeting on March 27th. We had the DRIP committee meeting on November 5th, all 2025. We had a hearing with the State Land Use Commission for them to be our accepting authority to accept that responsibility on November 19th of 2025. We had another EIS scoping meeting on December 18th, 2025. Maui Planning Commission met on January 13th, 2026. The DEIS comment period was from March 23rd to May 7th. We're having this meeting today. There'll be 2 full council meetings. There'll be meetings related to the FEIS acceptance with the state LUC. There'll be meetings relating to the state LUC with the district boundary amendment. And then we'll come back here again for the change in zoning. I think public has the opportunity to participate in this process. And, wrapping up, housing isn't like a one size fits all. Some people like apartments. Some people want single family houses. Some people like duplexes. There's all kinds of stuff. So, our goal throughout this project, I'm sure you've heard our project manager say it, but we're not looking to build something that none of us would be proud to live in. So, we want to build a quality product here. And the planning department did make their comment, and I do understand their concern. There's going to be no control over future development after entitlements are granted, with the M1 zoning. So we need to thorough conditions on change of zoning. I understand that. Again, housing is our priority. If you guys need, at that time, if you need to put in conditions that we need to do some housing, I just ask that you be flexible in the timing of it, because sometimes it gets complicated. Like some things have to come later than others. That's just the way development works. Housing is our priority again. And please don't try and lock everything up into this 2026 box. Maui's constantly evolving, and for better or worse, I don't know. It's not my job to judge that. It's evolving. In 2009, Maui Pine shut down. I don't think any of us saw that necessarily coming. 2016, HCNS shut down. All these things changed Maui, right? COVID-19 really changed Maui. Those 2023 wildfires really changed Maui. These past Kona lows really changed Maui. And so I'm just saying, if we try to lock in what's going to happen 20 years from now with our 2026 mentality, it's probably going to be stifling, actually, more than anything else. It's going to make things hard. So we're just asking for flexibility with guardrails, of course. And so we're just asking inclusion in the urban growth boundary, community plan amendment. They're indicators along with the budget appropriation that the council and therefore the community are supportive of this project. And they're the very first steps. There's going to be a lot of steps ahead of us and hurdles probably. And finally, wrapping up, our assumption has always been that the county is supportive of housing in this area, because you guys have your 23 acres right there adjacent to this project. So we just want to work together moving forward and appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Uyoka. At this time, I know there are some testifiers, so we'll move on to public testimony. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via the e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas. Testifiers wanting to provide oral testimony should join the online meeting via the Microsoft Teams link printed on today's agenda, or call in to the phone number which is also on today's agenda. For individuals wishing to testify via Teams, please raise your hand by clicking on the raise your hand button near the top right of your screen. For those calling in, please follow the prompts via phone. Staff will add names to the testifier list in the order testifiers sign up or raise their hands. For those on Teams, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. Staff will then call the name you're logged in under or the last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your time to testify. At that time, staff will also enable your microphone and video. Please ensure your name on Microsoft Teams appear as the name you prefer to be referred to, or as anonymous if you wish to testify anonymously. If you're in person, please notify staff that you would like to testify anonymously. Otherwise, state your name for the record and at the beginning of your testimony. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes. If you are still testifying beyond that time, I'll kindly ask you to complete your testimony. Once you're done testifying, or if you do not wish to testify, you can view the meeting on Akaku Channel 53, Facebook Live, or mauicounty.us/agendas. At this time, we will call on testifiers wishing to testify on DRIP 19. Go ahead, staff.
Chair, the first person signed up to testify is John Pele in the chamber, to be followed by Danielle Wadamar.
Good afternoon, Chair. Committee members, good to see you guys again. My name is John Pele. I'm testifying today as the Executive Director for Maui Hotel and Lodging Association. And I would like to testify today in support of Bill 163 and 164 as it's proposed in the amendments written in the agenda. You know, one of my focal points of my responsibilities as an executive director is workforce development. Not only within the industry that I represent, but also within the 140 or so businesses that are also a part of our associations and the challenges we have on a daily basis to try to fill our workforce positions. I'm sure you guys are all too familiar with that scenario. And so, you know, we work closely with UH Maui in their hospitality program. We work closely. We fundraise every year for scholarships for our high school students. We just handed out over $50,000 this year in scholarships and people wanting to pursue not only the visitor industry careers, but any other of our members represented in our association careers with them. And we have all these great conversations, right? We have all these big plans. We meet and we talk about jobs and opportunities and what can we do, pay scales, and they always seem really counterproductive. And the reason why they're so counterproductive is because the biggest hurdle is the housing situation. We can promote all these jobs we want, we can promote everything, but we can't promote the housing opportunities to keep people here. And I know I'm testifying today in my professional capacity, but I got to sprinkle in some of my personal views also. Many of you guys know my story on my daughter, my only child. I'm sure you guys have heard it before, but I'll share it for the people who haven't. Educated in Hawaii, college education, and after her college graduation, she left. And the reason why she left, there's one component why she's not living here, and that's because she couldn't secure housing. She moved to the mainland, 25 years old, was able to buy her first house, right? So she calls the mainland home, but that's not where she's from. So it kind of hurts a little bit. It's a deep cut that I'm still working on it. And to even go further, it's funny. You guys know my aspirations in 2024. Didn't work out. For the first time in almost 40 years, in order to do this position, because I live on Molokai, I work on Maui, so I commute. Some people catch a bus, I catch a plane. And in order to do this job, I had to find housing. First time in 40 years I ever had to worry about housing. I've always had a home and a place to live, and it was not an easy task coming here as a 57-year-old adult trying to find housing. But thanks you guys for the opportunity. I hope you consider this development. Aloha.
Thank you, Mr. Pele. Members, any clarifying questions for the testifier? I do have one, sorry. Clarifying if you have a feeling one way or the other about the hospitality component that is not currently included, but they said as the hospitality guy.
Not to offend Mr. Uyoka, but I can pretty comfortably say we don't care if there's a hotel there or not. We want housing. I don't think any of my hotel members would really go, hey, what did you say that for? And if they do, well, I'll just take the slap on the wrist. But we're focused on housing. Guys, you've done so much work in other projects, and to steal the planning director's verbiage, you guys have a lot of work to do and a lot of robust discussions to have and to come. So wish you guys all the luck. Thank you guys for allowing me to testify.
Thank you for that clarification. Staff, can you
Jeff.
call the next testifier?
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is Danielle Wadamar, to be followed by Gabriel Perales.
Can you hear me? Not close enough. There.
Now we can.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Danielle Wadimar, and I am here in strong support of not only Ho'onani Village, but Bills 163, 164, and 165. Just a quick testimony. I know for many families on Maui, the housing crisis isn't just something we read about and talk about. It's something that we're living every single day. Over the past 7 years, my wife and I have opened our home to multiple family members who needed secure housing and simply just couldn't afford it on their own, or lost their housing or lost their job, or whatever the case was. It started with one person and then two, eventually three. At one point, we had 5 additional family members living in our home in Pukalani, which made our house a family of 9 in a 3-bedroom house. We didn't do it because we love being super cozy with our family, although we love them all so much. We did it because there was a strain. There was a need. And like so many of you and so many people on Maui, we give what we can give. And at the time, we could give a secure place to stay, a safe home. And we would do it again in a heartbeat. I'm happy to say for those family members, they've all moved out, found their own housing, but because of the housing crisis here on Maui, we know that at any moment, our door could open again for another family member or 5. And that's why projects like Ho'onani Village are so important to this island and to our community. It represents a real workforce housing opportunity for local families and working residents who are struggling to stay here on Maui, just like Mr. Pele mentioned about his daughter. It's sad to see our family go just because they can't afford it. We already have people in healthcare and teachers and construction workers who are building homes for people and building homes that they probably feel like they're never going to get to live in. And to have a project that we can say is for them and they could afford to build their family, it's such a beautiful thing. I'm in strong support of it. We need your help. We need housing, and we need leaders willing to help support meaningful things like this. So I'm respectfully asking for support, and I appreciate you letting me testify today. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, members. Any clarifying questions for the testifier? I did have one. Just clarifying, are you similar to Mr. Pele and you don't care about the hotel portion?
I mean, if what Mr. Uyoka is saying and it's something that would be revisited years and years and years down the line, then I definitely think that the focus right now should be on providing housing for families. But if that's something, like he said, it's evolving, it's changing, things are changing. If it's providing more work for Maui people, then I definitely think that it would be an opportunity to look into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, can you call the next testifier?
Chair, the next person signed up to testify is Gabriel Perales, to be followed by Albert Perez on Teams.
Aloha, Chair Patalin and committee members. My name is Gabriel Perales. I'm a public affairs specialist with the United States Small Business Administration's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And before I do proceed, I just would like to share, and I apologize if I'm a bit out of line, as this is somewhat out of left field. It's not necessarily specific to Bill 163 nor 164, but I really wanted to take a minute, if allowed, or if not, I can yield my time back to give folks an update on SBA disaster resources.
Yeah, you're going to have to testify on the agenda items. You can write us an email on the update or do a live or something.
Absolutely.
It has to be on the agenda items. I think that's like the law.
Fair enough, understandable. So I apologize for that error, and I will absolutely look to be on the next agenda and get our information out to the community. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you can leave your contact info so we can try and schedule that and see what the right committee is to make that happen, or schedule a time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, can you call the next testifier?
Chair, the last person currently signed up to testify is Albert Perez on Teams.
Hello, Mr. Perez. You can begin when you're ready.
Hello, Awina La. Nice to see everybody. We testified about this before, and we've looked deeply into the project now since the draft EIS came out. We're urging the County Council to reject this proposal as it's currently presented. We strongly support truly affordable housing for local residents, but housing is not going to be affordable if it's not safe and if it's not healthy. I want to address the discussion that was had in the HLU committee this morning. It's not unusual for developers to seek a district boundary amendment from the State Land Use Commission before asking for county land use designations to be changed. In that case, the Land Use Commission would issue an approval contingent on appropriate changes to the Maui Island Plan and the community plan. The time required for this project has already been reduced by starting the process at the LUC concurrently. Unfortunately, the draft EIS is so flawed that it took us over 17 pages just to summarize the deficiencies. At the very least, this council should wait until the final EIS for Ho'onani is properly done. Without that information, you will not be able to make an informed decision, and that is the very purpose of that environmental impact statement law. The basic question for decision makers is, what kind of place would we want our own families to live in? Ho'onani Village would place families, children, kupuna, and workers in an industrial corridor directly beneath the Kahului Airport main flight path. Future residents would face chronic aircraft noise day and night, industrial impacts, traffic hazards, a water supply drawn from an old agricultural well that has questionable quantity and quality, long-term infrastructure burdens. We went into this in our full analysis, which I included with my testimony sent in yesterday. This is not just an affordable housing project. It's a major new urban development in an airport and industrial corridor, and the council should look at it that way. Noise is not just an inconvenience, and I put this in our EIS analysis, that Ho'onani, more people would experience cardiovascular disease. There'd be more heart attacks and more strokes and higher healthcare costs as a result of long-term day and night aircraft noise exposure. It's not just an inconvenience. And it also shifts the burden of noise onto residents through loss of fresh air and reduced outdoor livability. Affordable housing should not mean asking low-income families to tough it out and absorb those long-term impacts of a poorly sited project. In the case of Hale Kaiola, I'm not sure if you folks have heard, but a poor siting decision meant that 38 families who were finally able to purchase an affordable home were flooded out by the recent Kona storms. So what costs will Ho'onani residents incur that they didn't plan for? Higher medical bills, electrical, etc. Anyway, we respectfully urge the council to oppose the project as currently proposed. At a minimum, they should not grant permissions until they provide clear, specific, project-specific answers on noise and safety, water and wastewater, etc. Please defer this until after the final EIS is approved by the Land Use Commission. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Seeing Member U'uhajin has a question for you. Member Johnson, did you have one? Okay. Just Member U'uhajin, I had a couple questions as well, so I'll yield.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Perez, for your testimony right now and then this morning. I'm wondering, I'm going through your testimony now. Were you able to, this is separate but similar, reach out to Sprecklesville? Because they also live under the flight path when they take off. Those are multi-million-dollar homes, to see what their health is like?
Oh, no, I haven't done that.
Okay.
But that's a good idea. I can do that.
I would be curious to see what it's like, considering your report that I'm reading through. It's a lot, so I haven't read it all. Thank you for it, but I'm curious.
And
I'm curious. Thank you.
It's fully sourced. It's fully sourced if you want to look at the references from the National Institutes of Health, et cetera.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. I did have a few questions. The first question is, would you prefer this area to be then light industrial without the houses? Like, we're trying to put an emphasis to ensure that the houses happen because of the housing crisis, but would you rather it be just light industrial, like with the uses listed in the planning department's presentation?
Well, light industrial also includes apartments, so except for that, that would be more appropriate. Some things like body and fender shops, they already have noise, metal fabrication. There are uses that are compatible, and those are the ones that should be cited in
So more
noisy
like
area like this.
heavy industrial is what you're saying? I
Heavy
don't think heavy
industrial,
industrial allows
I mean,
housing.
In terms of the noise, yes, there are other considerations, but yeah, the sugar mill location is heavy industrial. At least it was last time I looked. But there are all kinds of other uses that would be appropriate. And this area was left out of the Maui Island Plan and the Wailuku Kahului Community Plan because, residential use was left out of this area because of the airport noise and also the crash potential.
Okay, and then my follow-up question, when you, to clarify, would be, when you said your preference would be that we wait until the draft, or the final EIS is accepted, I wanted to clarify in terms of timing and steps. The LUC doesn't act on the DBA until they have the FEIS, but they also need the MIP amendment and the CP amendment before they can act on the DBA. Is that your understanding? Sorry, alphabet soup.
The first part, yes, lots of letters there, but the first part, they can't act on the DBA until they get the final EIS POW. But they can issue a district boundary amendment contingent on a consistent amendment for the Maui Island Plan and also the community plan. Zoning cannot go forward until it's actually designated urban. So you don't have to do this first. And in fact, if you do adopt the Maui Island Plan change and the community plan change prior to the district boundary amendment, then in my opinion, that would bias the decision of the Land Use Commission.
Okay,
but either way, the information from the final EIS is really, really important for all decision makers from the Maui Planning Commission to the County Council to the Land Use Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, anyone else had questions for this testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Okay, mahalo.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to testify at this time?
Chair, we currently don't have any other individuals signed up to testify, so we'll do a last call. If there is anyone who'd like to testify on this item, please identify yourself now. On Teams, you can do that by raising your hand. We'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Chair, there is no one else to testify.
Members, without objection, I'll now close public testimony. Thank you. Members, I would like to open the floor for discussion. Since this is a big, heavy, unwieldy beast, I'd like to propose however many rounds of questions until we hit our hard stop, and give each member for the first round 5 minutes. They don't need to use all of it, but if you're on a roll, I don't want to stop you. I wanted to, if there's no objections, start with Member U'u Hodgins as the vice chair and her bill, then go to Member Batangan as his residency area. Then I can go this way or this way, whichever way you want me to go. So either Member Johnson or Member Sinenci, and then, okay, Member Johnson. Okay, so it'll go U'u Hodgins, Batangan, Johnson, Cook, Sinenci. And then me. Okay. Oh shoot, Charlie. Oh sorry, Batangan, Charlie, Johnson, Cook, Sinensi, then me. Sorry, Charlie. Missed you there. Okay, Member Hodgins, you ready for your opportunity?
Sure. I'm going to probably not have too many questions this round because I did have the opportunity to be in Planning Commission and hear this conversation and meet with the proposed housing provider. But I am going to say a couple of things before I give the mic up to Member Batangan. I have, as we all do, have so many similar stories to what we heard from Mr. Pele. One of my best friends is coming home today. Hopefully, she should be landing soon. She needed to move to America. She now lives in Nevada. And her son is graduating from Kamehameha schools on Friday. And she needed to make the tough decision to seek housing and seek job opportunity elsewhere and leave her oldest here so he could continue to go to school with his classmates. That is my best friend's story. And as we all know, there are so many stories that are just like that. And this is what I'm hoping we can prevent, is the continual out-migration of our people. I'm really glad we have this population projections because actually this is exactly why we need more housing. I see more people I don't recognize anymore than people I recognize. That's my reality of somebody who is of this place for my entire life. I no longer see people I recognize just randomly in the streets as much as I used to. And I know we all feel that way, especially for the people who are of this place, are the Kupaina of this place. And so when I did I think we had this conversation. The last time I was telling you guys I just had my 25th year class reunion. And I went to public high school because I grew up in the projects. And so we had a really big class and there was only a handful of us because majority of us have moved away who were honestly able to afford to move away. The rest of us still live in our parents' house. Like the woman that was here before, I wonder how many single-family homes are actually multi-family homes. I would love to see that be studied because that will prove why we need more homes. I was looking up the House Maui information as Mr. Uyoka was up there, and it was done in 2020 by your predecessor participated in it. And it said that in 2020, we needed 13,949 homes, additional units by last year. I would love to see that study. I don't know where we're at in how to quantify it, but I can tell you if we qualify it, we don't have enough. And I don't need too many studies to study what we already know, that we have a housing shortage. UHERO just did a report on May 14th, 2025, and it starts off with Hawaii remains in a severe housing crisis. High prices and mortgage rates have made home ownership unaffordable for most residents. Housing productions remain slow, with county and state regulatory barriers posing a major obstacle to new construction. And this is it. We're living in it right now. This is exactly our problem. Meanwhile, shifts in the U.S. home insurance market have driven up cost, increasing homeowners association fees, further reducing affordability. Federal imposed tariffs on building supplies and immigration policy that may reduce the national supply of construction labor also pose a new challenge to get housing built. Earlier in our committee, thank you again for joining us, we were discussing what it was like for the beginning process of this. And after this one went through, which is about 9 months or so in advance, we are still looking at years and years and years of conversation and entitlement, and then building permits. And so this is our problem right here. We're all aiding to our problem of not having affordable housing. Again, I don't really have questions. This was just my opportunity to soapbox because I've had the opportunity. but I wanted to get all of this off my chest as we begin discussions about the importance of affordable housing, which, I mean, honestly, don't we already know? Like, we know we need affordable housing. We know our problems, and I'm just wondering what we're gonna do about it. I understand we need more studies, to do more studies, but at the same time, our people are leaving, and you cannot study that. You cannot study the impacts of what it's like when we don't have any local people calling Hawaii home. I don't know how you would study that, but I feel it every day. Thank you, Chair. I know I just ranted for 5 minutes, but I appreciate that luxury. Thank you.
Sure thing. That was a lot. You must have been saving that up. Member Batangan, your opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I'll start with a disclosure. This is the same TMK that the Maui Economic Opportunity Transportation Base Yard is located on. So I might be conflicted, and I'm going to ask the administration for help in determining that. So can I confirm that the urban growth boundary amendment, the change in community plan, and the change in zoning are all restricted to just the project area, and it doesn't impact the other condominium lots on the same TMK?
My belief is yes, but who
Okay.
did you want to ask? The Corp
I guess I was
Council?
asking, so I guess my next question would be to either planning or corp council. So if that is the case, would a change in those three things have any sort of impact on Maui Economic Opportunity?
I haven't reviewed those CCNRs. This is Michael Hopper, Deputy Corporation Counsel. I've not reviewed the CCNRs to take a look at that. Generally, a physical area is delineated for all of the changes, and those are in your ordinances. So the actual effect will be on those ordinances. Whether that otherwise affects other properties within the same master property that is subject to the CCNRs, I can't give an opinion on that. But the geographic limitations of the ordinances are set forth in the bills.
Okay.
I mean, I'm no lawyer or Board of Ethics member, but I don't see a conflict from me. What about you guys?
So I came into this meeting thinking that I'd have to recuse myself, but after hearing the presentation, I actually think I would be able to participate in discussion. And so I'm hoping that
Yeah,
the rest of the body's
I
in
feel the
agreement.
same.
Okay.
Staff, can you restart his clock? Because that was just seeing if he could participate, and I would like substance.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I guess for the planning department, I hear your concerns about expanding the Maui urban growth boundary while there's still vacant lands within the existing boundaries. But on the flip side, I also see community plans being developed without fully utilizing space within our existing urban growth boundaries. Do you guys have any concerns with applicants asking for expansions of the growth boundaries when we are not fully utilizing our existing ones?
Thank you.
Go
Chair.
ahead.
So regarding the MIP expansion, this is our first one. So we have not had to deal with this before. Within the community plan designations, there can be areas that are not developed. Up until 2016, within the CP area, there was agriculture. There was still some sugarcane lands. And even where, like in Waikapu, there were pineapple fields up until not too long ago. So, there are areas that within the community plans that had not really been developed, but at least with having the urban growth boundary, the small town boundary, the rural boundaries, that's where development, could be seen in the future, even if the future is, say, 40 years from now. An example is in the South Maui Community Plan, which will be coming to you, Kihei Mauka, that's an area that is within growth boundaries, but had been initially just designated as agriculture. But now we are looking at designating that as small town center, even though we know that that's going to be a long time away. That's within the growth boundaries, but something that had not been utilized, but
Okay.
we're starting on the plans for something like that.
Thank you, Director. For the water department, can I ask, So I heard that there was a proposal to develop its own private water system for this project and that they would like to turn it over to the county. I heard that there were discussions with the department, but I hadn't heard whether or not you have concerns with the system as it's currently being proposed, if you guys are being expected to accept it in the future. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So those discussions are still in very early stages, no commitments made either way. In general, in terms of accepting the infrastructure, the source just needs to meet quality criteria and yield expectations. In terms of accepting conveyance infrastructure, I would say it needs to be substantially conforming to our water system standards. Doesn't need to be perfect. But I need to be careful what I say because I don't want to make any statements on behalf of our operations folks who are not here right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess, sorry, back to the planning director. So your initial recommendations were to defer until after the draft EIS was accepted, correct? And now it's the final EIS. Can I ask, oh no, that's not correct? Opposite. So you always wanted it to be deferred until after the final EIS was accepted. Can I ask what the difference is between the two?
I think what's important is the draft EIS is being submitted by the developer, and it's all the developer studies. Submits it, releases it out for public review, so you get public comment on the draft EIS. That public comment then is used to create the final EIS. So the final EIS hasn't considered any comments on that draft EIS yet. So all we have is the draft EIS, what has been put forward by the developer.
Thank you.
Chair?
Oh.
Just one other note, too. A final EIS, if it's accepted, also means the Land Use Commission reviewed it and took an affirmative vote that it meets the basic requirements of a final EIS as well. So that's the other step. They publish it, but then they also accept it. So that's another sort of difference from just the draft being out there.
Thank you, Mr. Hopper. I guess for Mr. Uyoka, has the project had any noise impact studies? Sorry, Chair. My notes reflected the order in which they were all talking.
Yes, it's included, the study's included in the DEIS.
Okay. And were there any findings of significant adverse impacts?
For
the
noise.
For the noise, correct.
Yeah. and
So
we
were
would
they
we
at
would
acceptable
mitigate.
levels, or did you have to have any mitigation matters built into the project?
We would mitigate when we build into the project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Batanga, and I just want to remind you, I think this body set aside $9 million to assist the developer in the development of that well. Chair Lee, your opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's not that I have questions at this point, but I too don't want to rant. I don't want to rant. I just want to remind folks that yes, we do have barriers, and a lot of the barriers are self-imposed. The county imposes way too many conditions and impediments on projects, and so does the state. And, you know, my concern is that we may be tempted to put conditions on prematurely, at the very beginning of a project before we know the whole scope that is acceptable to all the various agencies that have to.
There's no mechanism to put conditions on, only on the change in zoning. So we cannot put conditions on the Maui Island Plan Amendment or the Community Plan Amendment. So just wanted to clarify that for you, that there will be no conditions allowed, because that's not, you cannot, to my understanding, put a condition on a Maui Island Plan Amendment or a Community Plan Amendment. So not entertaining any conditions for these bills.
Okay. I didn't necessarily suggest that we do a community plan amendment or anything like that. I'm just saying in general, when we tend to, we have a tendency to add conditions at the very beginning of the process rather than vet the whole matter out first, and then you see what conditions make sense.
Okay.
The other
You
thing
understand
is-
that we are, that's what's on the agenda is a community plan amendment, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not suggesting that we make amendments at this point relative exactly to the project without having all the details of the project and imposing a specific amendment at this point. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying.
don't think we
specific.
can do that. We cannot do that.
Right. And then the other thing is, when I talk about barriers, a barrier is like, show me the water. A barrier is asking for too many affordables in a situation where, logically speaking, who's going to subsidize the affordable portion if you don't have gap housing or higher price housing? So all of those kinds of things, need to be considered, because people forget that somebody has to pay the bill. And if the people who are going into the lower end do not have the money to pay the bill, then somebody else has to pay the bill. So that to me is a major consideration, because like I said before, I've seen so many projects that have ended up in the affordable housing graveyard in Maui County because they couldn't get off the ground, because they foolishly agreed to too many conditions that they couldn't deliver. Because a lot of times they commit to things they don't even know whether they can or cannot do. But because over time prices continually go up, it's beyond their reach already. So we have to keep that in mind, that every time you add a condition, that you're adding a cost. And sometimes we forget that. Even the departments forget that. Because whether it's the planning department or the water department or public works department, after the council is done with approvals on this and all projects, it goes through the administrative gauntlet. So, I just want to remind our members that we're not the only ones imposing conditions. Everybody's imposing conditions. And that's why by the time it gets to the end of the tunnel, I mean, it's barely workable. So that's all I have to say about this and all projects. And if I still have a few minutes left, before the flight pattern was over the increments in Kahului, and first increment, second increment. I lived in second increment. We couldn't hear the TV when the planes went over because it was that close. And, we adjusted. We just adjusted to the noise. But I don't recall having any knowing of anybody getting sick or anything like that from the airplanes, because they flew directly and lower over all of the increments. And the increments had about 17 increments in all, so thousands, maybe 3,000-4,000 units that would have been impacted by the airplanes. Okay.
And just to clarify, we're not adding conditions today. No conditions will be entertained, because you can't put conditions on a Maui Island Plan Amendment or a community plan amendment. So there will be no conditions.
Right.
Okay.
Can I say one thing? But that's not what we're hearing from the testimonies. So I think we need to clarify that.
Okay, clarifying there will be no conditions today. Go ahead, Member Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. My notes are all over the place, so and I have 5 minutes. And I think what I'd like to do, since the departments are here, I heard loud and clear from planning that you prefer a deferral. And maybe since the other departments here, do you guys also prefer a deferral? And it's a yes or no, because I'm sure we can get into the weeds. But how about Director Mencho? Would you prefer deferral today, the action of today, or not?
Can you use your microphone, please, because somebody's on.
Thank you, Chair, for the question, and Member Johnson for the question. I would defer to the Planning Department's recommendation, and therefore the answer is yes.
Okay. How about Mr. Jensen from Water?
Yeah, don't want to speak on behalf of my directors, but I think we would tend to be in the same boat as Director Mitchell, and we would align with planning's position.
Thank you. How about Deputy Director Peterson? He was on the call.
I would defer to planning on this issue.
Okay, we all defer to the deferring Department of Planning. Gotcha. Okay, now I got a question for Mr. Hopper. I assume, I think this is a 21H project. That's what I heard. That's correct, right? 21H?
There's nothing that I've seen in the record that, I mean, there'd be a different process for this potentially if it was a 201H process.
Mr. Uyoka, is this a 201H project?
Or a 2.97, or what kind is it?
Thank you.
Mixed use.
Thank you. What's in front of you today is a straight zoning change or community plan. We will be coming in for a 201H to try and speed up the first phase. We don't want to, but we think we're going to have to.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. So if they do go for a 201H project, now this is for our lawyer, and I'll be back for you in a minute. So,
You might as well have a seat over here,
join the club. Come on down, Mr. Uyoka.
because we have a hard stop.
So the if they get in their what's the term? Their entitlements
Application?
and they're a 2-1H. What happens when this project takes so long that it becomes a new type of 2-1H, like a 2-1Z by the time this thing gets done? So does that lock in all the things that they get for it if it was passed in, or does it happen, like is it grandfathered in, or does it go along with what the current 201 is at that period? Is that you understand my question, Mr.
Member
Hopper?
Johnson, I think you're way ahead of me here. What we're looking at are, this is the regular process one would go by to develop land. If they get a community plan amendment, Maui Island Plan, urban growth boundary amendment, a change in zoning, and a district boundary amendment, that's normally what you would need. You would use the 201H to not get those things. You would use a 201H to say, instead of a change in zoning or a community plan amendment, I'm going to request exemptions from those ordinances and then get approval that way within a 45-day window. So right now, if they get these approvals, presumably that should be what you would need to develop a project. You would have the zoning, you would have a community plan, and you would have an island plan designation as well as a state district boundary designation that would all allow you to develop the project.
So they get all these, let's just say hypothetically, they get all these, and then in addition to, they apply for a 2-1H, is what Mr. Uyoka was just saying.
I would need more detail. I'm not
Okay.
sure why you would do that if you've already got your entitlements.
Okay.
So I'd like to hear more on that, to be honest, because I'm just not sure why you would do that after you would get the entitlements to do the project. So maybe there's other areas of infrastructure that would need exemptions, but if you get your approvals, you would be stating how you would be supplying water, wastewater, all of those things as part of those approvals. So I don't know if the 201H is to exempt from getting that infrastructure or what exactly.
Is that the path you're considering, Mr. Uyoka?
Thank you, Member Johnson. Yes, we'd be looking for some exemptions from certain things.
Fair enough.
And we hope to move faster through the 201H.
I get the idea of like it speeds up the process, but when these things take so many years, I wonder if we all of a sudden don't have a say in our 201Hs anymore as a county. But your hand's up. Go ahead. You had more to add.
Yeah, if I may, Chair. Thank you. So, Member Johnson, what would happen is go through the 201H process. You guys would approve, or hopefully approve with modification. And I'm going to assume it's going to be with modifications. And that would be our zoning in a sense. That would be our charter. That's what we would develop. Our requirement would be, no matter how long it takes, you might put a deadline on there for development. Please make it long because we already are planning on taking at least 12, 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
But that's what we would have to follow. So
the 201H of 2026 or whatever year that you get that in.
So we would submit plans and specs.
Gotcha.
And then you'd modify and make conditions and stuff, and we would follow that for the rest of time.
All right. my time's up, and that's where I was heading to. And thanks for responding to my question. Thank you, Chair.
Member Cook?
Thank you, Chair. So my first discussion with planning, I recall during the island plan when the urban growth boundaries were being discussed and the various areas, that Kahului area was looked at to be, I don't know, not low income, but a more, Wailuku and Kahului being a more desirable place for local residents because tourists and other people wouldn't necessarily want to live there. Did that resonate at all?
Yes,
Okay, thanks.
I'm from Kahului, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so I mean, I remember then I was kind of like put off, like, well, what's up with that? But I understand. I'm just relaying that. I'm just like, it's been generally understood that Kahului Wailuku is a local community. I was turned off to this project at first because of the airlines and other kind of stuff. Couple different things. I did do a couple projects in Sparklesville by Baldwin Beach Park and also in Sparklesville, where over a period of 2 years, the planes got substantially quieter. And there was a big difference. I recently dealt with the Veterans Administration about the Veterans Home that's under proposed construction out on Mokulele Highway, or the Veterans Highway in the state. And I was concerned about that. And as Colonel from Vermont said, Councilmember Cook, we were addressing that issue. In Virginia, we have places where fighter jets leave every hour over the barracks, and it's been addressed. Now, that's a little bit of extreme, but I'm just sharing with you that it's hard to retrofit a place for sound. It isn't as difficult to build a place for sound. If I look at this property as a resident, it doesn't seem to be an appropriate place to be farming now. And I just say that because of dirt and this and all the different stuff that farming goes with. It's like not a real good thing to do in the area, although I love farming. So I'm supportive of this, and I wasn't necessarily in the beginning. I think that this has the potential to supply a chunk of area for Kahului. I don't know if, probably some of you can remember, Marcos on Dairy Road was Hawaiian Equipment, a little blue one-story sheet metal building that they did equipment. And they grew cane, bam, right up into that area. And it was just sort of like when Arizona built on Dairy Road. It's like, how come they build in way out there? And it's not like that. I mean, that was only 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. So change happens. Hanson Road seems to be like the stop point. And I just want to share that and get a perspective. So, and also the idea with the process. My last little statistic, I do estimating, and I was going through, why does it cost so much to build stuff? In the house I live in that's Spencer built, 1989, a sheet of plywood cost $25. T111, 4-inch, 8-inch center, 9 feet long. Today it costs $132.50 for one sheet of plywood. Technology, they can get more veneers out of a log now. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It isn't a vanishing resource. It's just for all the different things that make money less expensive. I just want to share with everybody, none of this stuff's going to get cheaper. You guys hear me banging all the time. I'm like, delays cost money. So this is an opportunity for all of us who want to have a good project and people follow the guidelines to kind of own up to the fact. And this is, I think, what Chair Lee is kind of going at too. Own up to the fact that when we delay, and there again, you don't want to rush to the finish line, but I want to get to the finish line so people can build. My 2 cents is I want to have the developer donate land for a bowling alley, an ice rink, a senior citizen center, 160 acres. There should be enough room to do a public-private partnership. So, okay, but I wouldn't extract that from them. I would just kindly ask them to help us help you. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Sinensi?
Mahalo, Chair, and mahalo for everyone for being here to answer our questions this afternoon. just following up, Mr. Uyoka, what was the project's plan to address the Department of Environmental Management request to create your own sewage plant? You guys are doing that?
Yes, thank you, Member Senators. That's actually why we're doing the FEIS, is because the trigger was building our wastewater treatment facility. But our ask right now is we'd like, so we can get started faster, because it'll take years to build a wastewater treatment facility.
Got it.
We'd like to connect to Kahului through the existing lines, Pakaula Streets right there between Lowe's and Target, and go to the Kahului treatment facility for the first phase. And then once we get online, then we can switch over. So that's our hope.
Okay, thank you for that reminder. I do remember that. And then in the last Kona Lowe's, Target received some flooding. Is the project, I know it looks like there are like reservoirs back there, but you guys are addressing those issues. Should it go through?
Thank you, Member Senancy. So I believe the way the topo works is we are going away. We don't go towards Target, but I'm not 100% sure. But I can tell you, if we do develop, we will be required to provide modern day drainage. We'll have to cover all of that. And if you notice in this last Kona Low, a lot of modern subdivisions didn't get hammered that hard because they were able to, they have adequate draining, master planned communities.
Right, okay, thank you for that. And then my other question was for Director Mitchell. I know you didn't have any comments at the beginning of the project, and you did say it doesn't come to the department just yet. But if you did, if we were there, did you have any concerns of the project?
Thank you for the question, Chair and Member Senensi. It's tough to articulate concerns when I don't yet know what the housing units look like. What I've seen is a bubble diagram. So that's how early the project is in the phase. They really haven't put pen to paper yet, haven't done design work, so it's really hard for the Department of Housing to weigh in. So, we generally would wait until there's a trigger that sends the project to our department, but if we're going to opine this early on the project, it would be helpful to see something more than a bubble diagram.
Anything to say about the general site area, location?
I think I agree with the planning department's general concerns, but at the same time, a project of this scale cannot easily fit into the available vacant land in Wailuku Kahului that's undeveloped. And so this is an incredibly ambitious project that probably couldn't be located anywhere else. And in that regard, it would be helpful to, if we were flexible enough to see this project through, because if it is realized, it's going to add a significant amount of housing stock to what is already approximately somewhere in the order of 4,000 units for all of the projects in the Wailuku Kahului community plan area that are in the pipeline. So add an additional 1,600, it would be a significant...
I think it's 3,042
a significant bump in the housing stock in a very short period of time.
Okay, all right. Thanks for your responses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. If you can put 5 minutes for me. My first question is, was Mr. Perez correct that a DBA could be issued contingent on MIP and the Island Plan and Community Plan Amendment being forthcoming, Mr. Hopper? Is that correct? Like as a lawyer?
Based on the law, I think so, and it's been done in the past, but the
Okay,
Land Use
great.
Commission, who is the one who counts here, has a different opinion on that, and I'm not their Attorney General, and so their position has been you need to have the community plan and the whatever general plan of the county is in place consistent before they're going to process district boundary amendment. At least that's what I've been hearing.
Okay, so you two lawyers think that can, but their lawyers said no can, and we got to go by their lawyers.
Well, it's their commission, yes, the Land Use Commission, so we can't make them take a district boundary amendment in advance. And it's certainly not the only project they've had that position on. We're dealing with that with Coele right now. Or we dealt with that with Coele, that they required them to come here first. And then there's a few others. And the planning department, I think, is interfaced with them maybe most directly. So they may have some specific discussions, but that's my understanding. And obviously the project developer may have heard something as well.
My next question is for the planning department. It seems as though you've raised a bunch of serious concerns, which I hope we're all taking seriously. My question is, have you commented on the draft EIS with those same concerns so that it would be taken into account when the Land Use Commission does the final EIS?
Thank you, Chair Paulton. We did not comment on the draft EIS.
Is there a reason?
I don't have a reason. Sorry. I think we certainly shared many of our concerns at the Planning Commission and at this meeting, so, yeah, but not with the draft EIS. Sorry about that.
Is it your practice to submit comments?
Personally, I would have to defer to our current division. I'm not sure how the process works with the department.
Yes, go ahead.
Maybe also helpful knowledge. If an EIS is accepted and the project proceeds to a district boundary amendment, you may already be aware of this, but the planning department is an automatic party before the Land Use Commission on the contested case for the district boundary amendment. So planning would be, as of right, required to participate in that and would have to submit, witnesses and exhibits and things like that and participate in the contested case once that actually would go forward. So that would have to be after the EIS is accepted, but that's something that would happen.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that. Was that what you were going to say, Mr. Diaz? Yeah. Okay, great. I got more questions, so if that covers it. My next question, I think, would be for Mr. Uyoka and Mr. Mitchell. Is the intent to distribute the housing through a lottery, and would HUD vouchers be accepted? And if it's through a lottery and the housing department implements Mr. Johnson's Bill 111, which I'm not sure what the ordinance is, would that be able to ensure that the housing goes to our local people? So those are, I guess, a joint question. Maybe Mr. Uyoka first and then Mr. Mitchell.
Also, thank you, Chair. So our goal, of course, is we do want to partner with certain other entities and provide housing for their workers. This is really going to be workforce housing. It's not going to be luxury second. It's rentals, so it's going to be workforce. And the goal is, of course, at a minimum under 2.96, 25% of the units will be subject to the terms of 2.96, and that would be lottery. If we do go 201 each, 50% plus one would be most likely subject to the terms of 2.96, and that's typically what this county does. So those units would all be for lottery. But we've never, we're going to keep all the rates below 140%, the rental rates, but we want to have that flexibility where we can work directly with local employers to get housing for their people at reasonable rates. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
And you would accept HUD vouchers?
I would assume so. I got to check. I'm not.
And pets?
Pets, yes. Okay. We work out a pet policy for sure.
Go ahead.
We heard the Humane Society people the first time.
I'll be sure to let them know. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. I think Mr. Uyoka covered the bases, but it's unclear how the project's going to be financed and whether there might be project-based vouchers, and that's another opportunity for us to discuss. The department hasn't done that significantly in the past, and so we'd like to look at opportunities to do that. So this might be a project where we can do that.
Absolutely. Our project manager has it working where it does pencil on its own, but we'd love to make things better. So thank you.
Members, do you mind if I give Mr. Batangan until he has to leave as the project area person? And I kind of heard that Charlie and member Hodgins didn't have questions. So Okay. I'd like to give you,
Thank
I
you,
guess,
Chair.
until you leave as the area person.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. Just one question. I meant to ask my question to wastewater, not water, the last round, about coordination with the project team, since it was contemplated that turning the system over to the county was on the table, right? If I remember correctly, there was a recommendation for a private water system, or that they wait until the county has increased capacity.
Oh, to clarify, the water system would be turned over to the county.
The wastewater would not. The wastewater would still retain with the, that's why I was confused. Okay, then I'm okay. Thank you, Chair.
No further questions? Okay. Charlie, did you have any questions? Okay, I see you over here. I'll go to Nohe and then by
Chair,
hand raise.
just a reminder that I don't know if planning staff wanted to answer your previous question.
Oh, Mr. Hopper kind of covered what Mr. Diaz was gonna say, that they have a seat at the table after the FEIS, so they're a part of the process. So, I mean, they could have submitted comments, but they're gonna have a seat at the table, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Member Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. I will begin by discussing some of the department concerns they laid out here in our presentation. So a couple of things I think that are worthy to discuss. The first one is the process. And so please, I'm going to ask my question, but please feel free to explain as well. Because this is a council-initiated change, council member right now, soon to hopefully be council, but right now council member initiated change versus the developer and / applicant initiated change. This council-initiated change is within our code. It is slightly different than the proposed changes if it was to be a developer and applicant or housing provider and applicant initiated change, but it is within our code. This is an allowable thing for us to do in order to expedite, by again, about 5 to 7 years, the creation of affordable housing in this case. Yes? Yes. And I know that's one of your concerns because it doesn't necessarily go through the entire process, but it is absolutely well within our code. Secondly, the inconsistency with a couple general plan policies and examples. So your first bullet point here is the need to conserve and protect agricultural prime lands for development. I don't disagree. I will add that it may have been prime ag land, which I don't think it's in the top tier of ag land when it had water. It does not probably have water right now for ag land, nor is it in active ag land use. At one time, we did have sugarcane there, as we saw from the little crop circles, but it's no longer there anymore. So I understand that that is absolutely crucial if there was active ag, but there is no longer active ag there. And when it was in sugar. The public need input for designing new growth areas and no robust public input for this project. Again, this is the beginning of a long, windy road. We're gonna be having the same conversation for the next 7 years. I will probably be going all white over here by the time a house is built. But my point is that we will have the opportunity like we had today, like we had the time before, but it looks good on you. And like we had in MPC, robust discussion. And so I don't think that we are taking away the opportunity for community input by doing this process. We discussed about the urban growth boundary and should only be expanded if all of the uses are already used. And I think that one is quite hard because that means we're assuming all landowners of vacant land is going to be like, hey guys, I want to build housing, which is primarily our problem. We don't really solicit landowners to say, hey, this is our problem. We need housing. what can we do? We do wait for them to talk to us and then, or do a developer-initiated, housing provider-initiated change in zoning, and then 10 years later, maybe we can have a head in a bed. So I think it's kind of hard to put that condition on a housing provider on the condition that we're maybe waiting for other housing providers. I do know that we have existing entitled homes, but as Chair Lee said, sometimes they go into the, what did she call them, graveyard of affordable housing, which is really sad because I do think this is unfortunate. And I know I'm probably running out of time, but for infrastructure availability, perhaps maybe at this time I'm going to ask Mr. Uyoka to talk about what traffic studies you folks have done, as it has been a big issue and a big conversation, rather. Perhaps you could give us some information on that, and then I can continue to address some of the other concerns when I come back again.
Thank you, Member Hodges. Without getting into the specifics, yes, there is a TIAR in the DEIS, and I don't believe this project, while, quite sizable, had any significant impacts on the traffic in the area. But I'll defer to that study, of course. Please don't quote me directly on it, but the study is there. Thank you.
Thank you. Going by raising of hands, I'll take Member Cook, followed by Member Johnson.
Thanks. This project, as far as affordability and buildability, doesn't have sand. It's on dirt. It's on very, very, very disturbed ag land. It's, as far as like cost effectiveness to get in and put utilities and to build, this is probably one of the least expensive places that you're going to find.
Member Cook, can we pause? Member Batangan has to go. I just wanted to give you an opportunity, if you wanted to let us know as the area representative, if you had a sway one way or the other, because I would, in this instance, I'm not decided yet, and I would like to hear what your sway is, if you want to give it, but you don't have to.
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm happy to share my thoughts on this. I am leaning toward, I would lean towards recommending your approval because there are still other applications coming forth. But I am also, if you had called for the question while I was here, I would probably ask that for deferral and wait till the final EIS is complete. If this was a applicant-initiated process, I think that would have been a requirement, and I think that it's something that I would have asked for. Like if we are, sorry, I didn't have the thoughts articulated very well, but I would have asked for the final EIS before taking action on this matter. So if I was to have to vote today, that would have been my position. If I was in the in your position, I would have waited for that final EIS to have been scheduled before scheduling it, just so that the accepting authority would have been able to rule on the matters put forth in the draft.
Thank you. That does help me because I had no idea what I was going to vote. Okay.
And it's clear that I'm still formulating these thoughts too. I do have to say that there were some things in the planning department's presentation that I found very persuasive. There were some concerns raised that I didn't think were as persuasive. But throughout the conversation, I do think that most of the concerns were mitigated. And this is more of a question of process for me rather than the merits of the individual of the individual application before us.
Thank you. Member Cook, sorry to have interrupted you. I hope you didn't lose your train of thought. You may continue his time.
I don't really need any more time. I just wanted to weigh in that if we want housing and small town additional stuff, accelerating the time, choosing the right spot and being supportive is the way that we're going to get it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Member Cook. I think Member Johnson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Some of my questions are for Mr. Uyoka, so I'm just going to jump right into them. You mentioned in your presentation there are some DHHL lands over there. Okay, let's get into that because I wanted to clarify that.
What, I'm sorry, I should have been clearer. In that House Maui study, they talked about all of these various projects that are coming online. Two of the bigger projects are DHHL projects.
I see. That's where I wanted to clear that up. Now I'm going to ask about your landscape plan because, as you know, the testifiers, in fact, before this even came before me, even when I drive there, I said, oh, there's the airplane. It's like right above my head. I think the suggestion and what I was hearing was, make everybody have AC, keep the windows shut, keep the doors shut, but also the landscape plan, the types of trees, the type of vegetation you plant in that area will really help keep the noise down. And I'm curious, as a builder, as the folks that are going to be moving this forward, I would assume that would add more cost than just a typical, we're going to have a nice little bush here. No, you need substantial, I think the term is, like pine trees are really good at that for some reason, just the way the sound flows through them. Whatever. The point is I wanted to know what your guys' stance on if you could address some of the sound through your landscape plan.
Yes, Member Johnson, we did have that discussion, and it is we have to follow the landscape planting plan, of course, but we do plan on working with our landscape architect to try and incorporate as many features as we can to reduce noise, but also just livability. Currently, the way the buildings are structured or like shaped, or I guess I should say placed, it is taking into account where it's windy in Kahului, it's hot and sunny in Kahului, so buildings are placed. We'll try to get them with the winds. If you do want to open your windows, you don't have to. There's going to be windows. You don't have to leave them closed. And there's going to be the opportunity for shading via landscaping. So yes, we are aware and we do plan on doing that. So thank you.
Shade is another factor that you brought up that I totally support because you want a walkable neighborhood. You don't want to, we all do it on it. When we're walking on the sidewalk, we see our neighbor and we want to talk. We all just kind of move towards the shady area and talk. So I love that it builds community, but I'm specifically addressing like the sound that you could bring down with a good bushy tree or a tall pine tree, like Cook Island pines on Lanai, as you guys know. That's our shtick, right? So I'm glad that you guys are going to try to address that in the landscape plan. Does it add extra cost by doing that?
Everything costs, but we have to put a landscape planting plan.
Of course.
You know what I mean? There's requirements anyway.
Of course there is that, but if you're kind of aiming towards a sound barrier type of landscape plan, would that add additional costs?
I really don't know how much additional, if it would be additional, but we can certainly look into that.
Fair enough. I'm going to pivot a little bit. You guys have, I've seen the maps, but I didn't see like a model of the homes. Are you not there yet?
We do have like general, they're apartments, they're apartment units. We have general designs. We're working through the design right now. Like I mentioned, we plan on being in permit in January of 2028. So, we're on our way.
Right.
We're in preliminary design.
Preliminarily, how do you feel about prefab homes?
Like
yeah, like the idea if you're going to build these units, are they going to be from the ground up and you're just building that way, or are you going to try to do any kind of cost cutting through any form of prefab? I mean, there's all levels. You could even have the shed, some other structures would be prefab. I'm curious if you guys have considered that.
I believe currently our plan is stick build, and I think currently the way the law works is we wouldn't be able to get the necessary inspections for a prefab unit. That's kind of the holdup, but we do plan on going stick build on this right now. That is our plan.
Hokuau did it with prefabs, and it's just fascinating to me how they did it. But okay, we can get into that because we got plenty of time for this kind of conversation. But really, I just wanted to, those were my last few questions. Let me double check. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I had some questions I wanted to clarify. Planning Department, in your presentation where it says MPC proposed conditions for change of zoning, I wanted to clarify when you said all residential units will be rented at or below 140% AMI. You're not proposing that the renters would have to qualify at 140% or below AMI, just that the rent price would be at 140% or below AMI? Is that correct?
Yes, Chair, that's correct.
And Mr. Uyoka, that was your intention to align with what that was? You said rents would be probably 140% or below, and not that the applicants to the housing would have to make 140% or below?
Correct. That was, but don't get me wrong, for the 2.96 units, the 25%, that will be a requirement. And for, if we go 201H, the 50% plus one at least. But our goal was to, and not necessarily for the not wanting people to be 140% income, but it's a task to qualify and constantly qualify.
I live in
all
West
the
Maui,
people.
don't worry.
Yeah. No, but just to qualify the people and to maintain that and check it all. It's humbug.
Next question, to member Uu Hodgins' point in her last round, and this is not a condition, it's a request for commitment, that you would be willing to do a media release at each step where people could provide in testimony, like a week in advance, like do a media release, like we're gonna come up for this opportunity. If you wanna provide testimony, this is how to do it. Since it's a shortened timeline, I think, just putting out a release to Maui Now or whomever would be prudent. Like I see so many comments on social media, but I don't know that they understand how to participate not on social media. So I was wondering if you would be willing to, like when the thing is agendized or scheduled, that you would be willing to put out a media release saying like, this hearing is coming up. If you want to provide input or testimony, this is how you do it, kind of thing.
So here's where the devil's in the details, right? You guys post your agenda 6 days before your meeting. So if you want me to post something a week in advance, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be on an agenda per se. We can work together, of course. And then I need more specifics because I don't want to break my promise to you. Is Maui Now good enough? Do I have to go Maui News? Do I have to go?
I'm not saying newspaper because that's difficult. I don't know, just a press release to any kind of radio or digital format is okay with me.
I'm okay with it in concept. I just don't know if I don't know if they let private do press releases per se. It becomes an advertisement almost.
I'm okay with working with you on that. Okay. Like if you send me the information, I can send out a press release or request the administration to do it. It's not like a condition, and I'm happy that you don't wanna make false promises or get my vengeance up, but it's just a request because to member Uu Hodgins' point, there's going to be more steps, but not that the general public understands when, how, where. So if you send it to me, I'll try and get it out through a channel. And Mr. Mitchell is willing to work with you as well.
Sure, of course. I just don't like hurt feelings later on in case we misunderstand each other.
I hate hurt feelings.
Thank you.
And then would you also be willing to work with housing as you work through the preliminary designs just for feedback? Because they said, they don't have anything to say because all they see is bubbles. If you're working on that now, if Mr. Mitchell is willing to provide feedback in this preliminary stages, because, we're all about saving time here.
Absolutely. We look forward to it, actually. We want to work through this with the county and get it done faster. So thank you.
Cool. Mr. Mitchell, are you open to that? Okay, thumbs up. The next question I have, Mr. Hopper, do you know in this case how many votes at council would be required to pass it. I seem to think it's 5, but I'm not sure.
Well, Chair, I was actually going to bring this up because I was a little unclear because it sounded like at the beginning you had said that the two things that the Planning Commission said in its vote was to have the draft EIS done, and that's certainly been completed and is a matter of record. The other was to have the island-wide inventory maintained by the Department of Existing Land Uses updated, and find that the additional urban density land is necessary to provide for the needs of the projected population growth within 10 years of that inventory. Sounded like there was a discussion that I thought at the beginning I heard that inventory was completed, but then I heard the department say they were working on that inventory. And so having that clarified could perhaps give some indication of if the criteria that the Planning Commission made in its recommendation is met, therefore requiring only 5 votes, provided the council makes that finding, or if the inventory is not completed and then the council decides to override that and move forward, it may need 6 votes. So I wanted to get that clarified where we're at with
From planning.
the inventory. Yeah.
Planning, can you clarify if it's been updated or to the point of meeting the criteria?
Thank you, Chair. So at this time, we have the number of vacant acres. I don't have the breakdown of residential, commercial, and industrial, which is one of the components in the 2014 study, but the staff are working on that now.
I guess the question is, for a 5 or a 6 vote, would you consider that you've done what the recommendation of the Planning Commission is, or that you still have a ways to go?
Thank you, Chair. I think the big part of the inventory is the number of acres, which we did complete. I think that provides you a lot of information on what's available. So yeah, I think like I said, that's a lot of information right there. I can check with staff on how much longer they think they need to do the breakdown and the further research, but I'm not sure.
Does that help you, Mr. Hopper?
Yes, I think it does. And then this goes to the Maui Island Plan Policy 8.1.B, which states that an urban growth boundary shall only be expanded if the island-wide inventory maintained by the Department of Planning of existing land uses, residential, commercial, industrial, indicates that additional urban density land is necessary to provide for the needs of the projected population growth within 10 years of that inventory. So I think the Commission's recommendation was going toward the council reviewing that and finding, yes, this is true in the case of this island plan amendment, which in the island plan, it says this is the criteria for an island plan amendment. And I think council can make that decision, but I think that was the information it wanted. So if we're saying we have this information or the inventory provides a substantial amount of information, I'd want to look at that in the context of the Commission's recommendation. At this point, I'm not going to definitively say 5 votes would be all that's required after looking at that, just because is that inventory updated at this point? Again, for committee action today, you only need 5 votes for that. But when you get to the council floor, I don't want to say there's no potential for requiring a 2/3 vote if the Commission's action was to make that as either a modification or a modification not adopted by council, or substantively a recommendation of denial, unless those
So
items
the
are
bottom
correct.
line is we don't know at this moment. If more analysis.
If we cannot say that the inventory has been updated, that was one of the things the commission put in its recommendation. So.
Okay, and then if I may, one last question. If we defer to the final EIS, then as soon as the final EIS is accepted, or it's accepted and it becomes the final EIS, then if we so choose, we could amend the Maui Island Plan and Community Plan, and then they could schedule the LUC. Is that correct? I don't know who would answer.
I don't see why, yeah, that could happen. It might delay the LUC's holding of the district boundary amendment hearing from between if they wait to the acceptance of the final EIS and then have to go back into council to finalize this process. I guess there could be some delay, but if as long as the two ordinances we're looking at today were passed, yeah, I think that could go forward to the
For the planning department, or whoever knows the answer, how far, does anyone know a timeline of now that the comments have been accepted, how long it would take from the draft EIS to become the final EIS?
Yeah, so that's on us. The comments came in, so we're looking at resubmitting in probably September-ish for the FEIS to the LUC. We want to wait until we get the water studies done before we draft, or submit the FEIS. And
So,
then,
you take the comments and then you incorporate it in, have a hearing with the LUC, with the planning department, and then all of you guys create the FEIS? Or the LUC creates the FEIS based on the conversation with all you guys?
so basically, they're going to tell us what the FEIS should say, give or take, yeah.
Mr. Diaz, did you want to add?
Yes, Chair. So for the draft EIS, essentially it goes out for agency comments. Agencies provide comments. And then I would assume, this is the LUC, so I'm not 100% sure on their process, but I am assuming then the draft EIS would go in front of the LUC, and the members would provide their comments. And then it would go back to the applicant to have to address all of those comments. And once they do that, then they would create a final and bring that back to the LUC for acceptance.
And so like September, you're saying about 4 months?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Mr. Diaz is correct. We will send our draft addressing the comments in, and then it turns into the final over some processes. But yeah, it'll be at least 4 months. And just for your last question, Chair, so we would need that process finished. However long that takes, it can be challenged legally and everything. And then we would come back here for the island plan and the community plan amendment. Then we would go back to the state for the LUC DBA. And that would also be a contested case hearing, and that could take as long as it takes. And then we would come back here for our change in zoning. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, we've been going at it for quite a bit. Does anyone want a break? We don't have to, but just offering. Okay, nobody wants a break. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6 members, so we'll need at least 5 votes right now for sure. I did want to take Member Batangan as the area representative because I don't know how much this affects me personally living in Napili. I did want to take his recommendation or his vote today into consideration. Does anyone have any discussion about how he felt? Or, I don't know if that's done, but yes, Member Uhadjins and Member Cook.
Thank you, Chair. I always have thoughts. So I understand where he's coming from, but I don't know if he realizes that as a county, we decided not to be the accepting authority of the EIS, and that we would have an opportunity to do the change in zoning after we get the EIS. And so we have the draft now, and then we still have an opportunity to review this project and really solidify it with the final EIS after it comes back to the LUC. And while I appreciate his suggestion, that just aids in the ping-ponging, as we described earlier, and going back and forth through this entitlement process. So it would add a lot of time. I understand his point, but I disagree.
Member Cook?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to reiterate, I think that our process and this is a really good example of it, describing it today, is a really big part of the problem. I think that if we pass this today, I'm an advocate of passing this on of committee today, that we're simply nudging it along. There's a whole lot of things in front. Delaying it for something and for something and for something, I don't really see the need. I think today we could pass it on a committee, and I'd like to. So that's my 2 cents.
Any other comments from any other members? Yeah, if we can, stick to the topic at hand. Member Sinensi?
I too am Kanalua. Only because like you, I kind of took Member Batangan's as the area representative, but also the departments when Member Johnson asked their opinion. But Mr. Uyoka said you guys would still you're waiting on the water to get some water reports and then taking all the comments from the draft EIS process, and then you guys will come back with your final or present your final?
Yes, we got all the comments. The comment period closed on May 7th, so we got the comments. We're working on addressing them and, updating the draft EIS. And we are waiting until we get those water reports done. So in September, we expect to be good to go. And then we'll go work with the LUC on the acceptance of the draft, we'll start on the process to get to our FEIS.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Chair.
Member Johnson, did you want to, Member Lee, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I took Member Batangan's comments as not being decisive. I think he's thinking about it, and I think overall he supports this project. I think we had the benefit of having a previous discussion on it that he may not have had. I'm not sure. But don't forget, Kahui is part of Central Maui, and that's my district as well. And I strongly support this project. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. Member Johnson, anything to weigh in on this particular issue?
On this particular issue, I tend to also listen to the folks who districts that they represent. I also want to say, where's the sense of urgency from our departments, from this process? It's slow enough as it is, and I thought we were in a housing crisis. So I've said it before, if your hair's on fire, you best act like it, right? If we're in a crisis, we best act like it. Now, I wish it was just that simple, that it was just a black and white issue. But really, the other side of the coin is what housing crisis when I drive down Manele Bay and there's empty lots for sale all over, but they're $3 million oceanfront views. What housing crisis? If you've got $3 million in the bank, you've got it. There's no housing crisis. So that's the dilemma that I'm at. Is like I want to listen to the area rep, but also we should be acting with some urgency. And if this brings us back to September, is what I'm understanding. Is September, is that the month I'm hearing? Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So we'll start the FEIS acceptance process in September. When that's actually done, it might be November.
Okay, so if we pass it out today, how much does it shave you on time?
So it's going to save me after that. So instead of after the FEIS acceptance, then I go do my DBA, and then I come back for my zoning. If we push this back, I get my FEIS acceptance. Hope it's in November. I'm probably not going to be able to get my community plan and Maui Island Plan Amendment through you guys in November and December. So it'll be, and then January, it's going to be a little hectic. It's an election year this year, so probably push me back till February. And then I'm at budget or you guys are at budget at the end of March.
Even if we try to help. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying. You hear me, Jeff? I'm trying.
I'm sorry.
So that's what's frustrating for me. So what it's like, hurry up and wait? You know what I'm saying?
I guess what I'm saying is, if you get me through on the community plan and the island plan now, then when I'm done with it in November with the FEIS accepting authority, we jump straight into the DBA instead of coming back here for the island plan and the community plan, which probably won't be till honestly next
Can I
year.
make another clarification? Like, say we vote it out at full council, you're assuming the risk. Like you said, January could be 9 new members, and they say no on the CIZ. The only thing you're allowed to do is the intersection of the current zoning and the...
Sorry, Chair. I'm basically allowed to do nothing. Whatever ag and the community plan that I'm asking for allow that overlaps. That's it.
So if we move it forward today and a whole new council comes in and they say no to the CIZ, pretty much you can do ag.
Basically, yes.
Okay, you guys ready for my recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to recommend passage of Bill 163, 2025 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by a member Hodgins, seconded by a member Cook. The chair will entertain a motion to replace Bill 163 with the proposed CD1 version approved as to form and legality by the Department of Corporation Counsel, uploaded on Granicus number 51, found at page number 14 because of the wonkiness.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by member Hodgins, second by member Cook. The proposed CD1 version is the same as the posted amendment summary form dated May 13, 2026, except that it is now approved as to form and legality by the Department of Corp Counsel. The revisions include the following: amending the bill's title and text to correct the property size, amending the bill's preamble to update the bill's procedural history, inserting an Exhibit A with a meets and bounds description of 163.443 acre portion of the property, referring to and inserting a new Exhibit B Maui Island Plan, Directed Growth Map, Amendment MIP-1. Sorry, I did your discussion for you, I guess. Any further discussion on the amendment as stated?
Sounds good, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Is this a roll call vote or a voice vote? Roll call. Roll call. Just the amendment. Voice vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Chair, you have,
Go ahead.
Chair, you have 6 ayes, 0 noes, 3 excused members. Sukimura, Batangan, and Rollins Fernandez. Motion passes. And now you're back to the main motion as amended.
Members, any further discussion on the main motion as amended? Member Hodgins.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try my best to keep it short since majority of my questions were a little ranty. But I do support this project because I support affordable housing, full stop. For me, there's no but after my support for affordable housing. I want to make clear, thank you so much to the departments for being here. I know we probably don't see eye to eye on this all the time, but I do respect your opinion, even if I slightly disagree with it. Central Maui has a really high local population, which I love to see, which is why I'm happy that they're going to be providing more affordable housing here. In that UHERO study that I quoted earlier, Kahului and Central Maui ranks 55 out of 65 towns for its localness. There's only 6.8 out-of-state people that bought homes, which I don't think majority of us can say that, which is why I'm actually super happy that we get to create a town for us while we're here right now. And I know that Maui is facing a lot of challenges and change. And my primary issue is just for our local people to stay home, for our brain drain to stop, for our #1 export to be its people. And I do thank everybody here, and we're going to continue to have this conversation over and over and over again. And I thank you, Mr. Uyoka, for working with Chair and our other departments to get people out here and get their testimony heard as well and create more public participation. So thank you, Chair, and thank you, Department. I appreciate it.
Member Cook.
I would just like to say that if we want to have housing for Maui's local residents that is as close to affordability and obtainable as possible, this particular site is it. I just want to weigh in on that this site, as far as potential affordability and increasing our local population, this is the site. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, can we do a roll call vote?
Thank you, Chair. Proceeding with roll call vote. Councilmember Sugimura.
Excused.
Councilmember Sinensi.
No.
Councilmember Rollins Fernandez.
Excused.
Council Chair Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Batangan.
Excused.
Committee Vice Chair Hodgins.
Aye.
Committee Chair Paulton.
Aye.
Chair, you have 5 ayes, 1 no, 3 excused. Members Sugimura, Rollins Fernandez, and Batangan. Motion passes.
Thank you, and we'll find out later, I guess, if we need 5 or 6 votes at full council. I reserve the right to change my vote in case I get somebody upstairs telling me something different. Not the 9th floor. Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to recommend passage of Bill 164 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Member Hodgins, second by Chair Lee. The chair will now entertain a motion to replace Bill 164 with the proposed CD1 version approved as to form and legality by the Department of the Corp Council, uploaded as Granicus number 51, found at page 22 due to wonkiness.
So moved.
Moved by Member Hodgins, seconded by, was it Charlie? Second by Charlie. I'll do your discussion for you. The proposed CD1 version is the same as the posted amendment summary form dated May 13, 2026, except it is now approved as to form and legality by the Department of Corp Council from page 22. Revisions include the following: amending the bill's text and title to correct the property size, amending the bill's preamble to update the bill's procedural history, inserting an Exhibit A with a meets and bounds description of the 163.443 acre portion of the property, referring to and inserting a new Exhibit B community plan map, CP-436. Any discussion on the amendment? Will this be a voice vote? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Chair, 6 ayes, 0 noes, 3 excused. Members Sugimura, Rollins Fernandez, and Batangan. Motion passes. You're back to the main motion as amended.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion on the main motion as amended? Would you like a roll call? Yes. Okay. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Proceeding with roll call vote. Councilmember Sugimura.
Excused.
Councilmember Sinensi.
No.
Councilmember Rollins Fernandez.
Excused.
Council Chair Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Batangan.
Excused.
Committee Vice Chair Hodgins.
Aye.
Committee Chair Paulton.
Aye.
Chair, you have 5 ayes, 1 no, 3 excused. Members Sugimura, Rollins Fernandez, and Batangan. Motion passes.
This concludes today's Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. Mr. Mitchell will be in contact with Mr. Uyoka. We'll see you at full council, at which time they'll let us know if 5 or 6 votes are needed to pass it forward. The time is now 4:08, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for no recesses. 408.
Good job, Chair.